Support comes from BECU, a member-owned credit union putting people over profit, offering financial services and support to the community with access to local financial centers, over 30,000 ATMs, and online resources at becu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hey, good morning. It's Paige Browning. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. Masks are in again. Late Seattle sunsets are out. But on the plus side, King County is now 70% vaccinated in every age and racial group. And in weird news, that famous swimming baby is all grown up now and not too thrilled about his claim to fame. The South Seattle Emeralds' Marcus Harrison Green and KUOW's Kristen Leong are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. There's concern some city workers may be more willing to leave their job than get the COVID vaccine, particularly workers in the Seattle Police Department. In fact, the words mass exodus have been thrown out by local union leaders, according to a story by Crosscut. Officers can be terminated if they're not vaccinated by mid-October. There's similar concern in Pierce County, where a new report shows 30% of firefighters there have not gotten the vaccine. KUOW reports that some of them have talked of leaving if they're required to get it. You may remember that Microsoft was hacked back in January. Well, there's a new theory that the reason the data was stolen was for artificial intelligence being built by the Chinese government. NPR investigated this issue for months and says the Chinese are building computers that can perform tasks that traditionally require human intelligence. The hack targeted Microsoft's email servers, and data was stolen from tens of thousands of organizations and cities. And if bugs gross you out, you might want to skip this story. A team from the Department of Agriculture removed a nest of about 1,500 Asian giant hornets from a tree outside Blaine this week. They vacuumed out some worker hornets, then pulled back bark to reveal a nest dug into the tree's wood. The team cut out that whole chunk of the tree for scientists at Washington State University to study. I usually like to keep it light on a Friday, but here we are. The mask mandate is back. Summer break is ending for students. Well, wait, there is this. The Seattle Storm got an Oval Office tour. I don't know if you saw this. I loved seeing that Storm jersey in the White House, the president getting their own Seattle Storm uniform, and MVP Breonna Stewart's outfit, long dress and blazer over matching pants and Pumas. Marcus Harrison Green is here, founder and publisher of the South Seattle Emerald. Hey, Marcus, what mask would you wear to meet the president?
I don't know. I'd probably smoke them if you got them. I mean, the way that the president has been, maligned this week for Afghanistan and so forth. It seems like he's maybe not long for that office the way that things are going. So I would just remind him to enjoy as much of it as he possibly can.
There we go. And we have KUOW's own community engagement producer, Kristen Leong here. Kristen, are you the type that takes the mask off as soon as you're in the clear, as soon as you're in your car, or do you forget you're wearing it and you're driving home with it on?
Hi, Paige. It's great to be here. I am take the mask off as soon as I'm in the car, as soon as I'm in the house, for sure. But happy to be wearing it out in public, definitely cruising around wearing my mask.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the camp that sometimes forgets it's on and often forget my headphones are on and I'm listening to nothing. Well, jumping into what happened this week, public health officials were really happy to report some good vaccine news, actually. In King County, we've reached 70% initial vaccination for all age groups and all racial groups that are tracked by health officials. And breaking that 70% threshold for all groups meant that even people like as young as 12 to 19 are mostly inoculated, more than 70%. Kristen, this is a group that public health officials worried about, and they worried that they weren't getting vaccinated. Thoughts?
I was looking at those numbers and I was just thinking, we have heard so much concern about, the young people are out there spreading COVID. They're in the bars. They're going out to nightclubs. So I was really glad to see that. And then I was looking down the list and thinking about how the number just keeps getting higher and higher as those age groups increase, all the way up to our 80-plus group are at over 95%. And I was looking at those numbers thinking to myself, like, here is the proof that we all just keep getting wiser as we get older, right? And I was like, well, that feels good to me as somebody who is, not getting any younger. So there we go.
There we go. And I've seen a lot of outreach out in the community. I'm sure you've seen some of this too. Everything from vaccine teams going into community groups and community centers, vaccines at sports games, seeing ads on YouTube and TikTok. There are all these efforts everywhere. Marcus, have you seen much of this?
I have, but I think what's really also effective is sort of the no shirt, no shoes, no vaccine, no service. There have been a ton of restaurants that, I shouldn't say a ton, I don't go out that much, but the restaurants that I have frequented, several of them ask for your vaccine card, and if you really you want those wonderful morsels of good food, like at a place like Island Soul or elsewhere in the city, you have to have done your due diligence and have gotten a vaccine.
Paige, I was thinking about all those different places where you can go and get a vaccine. You can get a vaccine in your regular grocery store, right? At schools, at sports stadium. People are set up to give the vaccine where people are already going. And I think about, we worry about our voting rates are so low. Why aren't people voting? Why aren't people voting in the primaries? Why aren't people voting in even the presidential election? I'm like, if you want people to participate in their civic duties, whether that's voting or getting a vaccine, go ahead and set up where people are already going.
And I wonder if you think these vaccine requirements, Marcus, that you mentioned, do these actually work? Is it really convincing people in Seattle?
I think that it is, right? In the sense that it's one of those things where people haven't, I have family members who were very vaccine hesitant at first. And once they saw that folks were quite frankly not being controlled by Bill Gates, as far as we know, although I have bought a ton of Microsoft Office products in the last month. But no, I think at this point, right, it's, those who were the more hesitant initially on, their doubts have been satisfied, and they want to go on with their life, quite frankly. And if that requires a dose of vaccine, then that's what it requires.
Yeah, it dawns on me too that there's at least one person sort of in my family circle who just doesn't feel compelled to get it, and I think in the back of my head I do keep hoping that, okay, if there's a flight they need to take that it's required, or an event we all want to go to and the vaccine's required, maybe that's what will tip them over. So I guess you're onto something, that these mandates actually might work. I'm holding out hope that it's going to help people in my circle get the vaccine.
Yes, if we could only mandate voting now to go with what Kristen was saying, we could maybe get more voter turnout as well. But that's another story, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. 40% turnout in King County in the recent election. But I'm going to move on to Nevermind. That's Nevermind, the Nirvana album with that famous naked baby swimming toward a dollar bill. I know you've seen it. That famous baby filed a lawsuit this week against the band, against Nirvana LLC, and a bunch of people involved with this album, saying that was actually sexual exploitation. Did you hear about this, Marcus?
I did. I kind of, I'll be honest, when I first heard about it, I sort of, dismissed it with all that else that was going on. And I obviously don't want to minimize or trivialize any type of trauma that might have been done to anybody, especially at that age. But I will say, he talked about, at least in the article that I read, he talked about, how much, sort of pain and trauma and so forth that it's caused him, and, his inability to, potentially get work as well. I believe the opening photo of this piece in the New York Times is him holding a photo that he is in, the one that has caused him, so much grief, supposedly. Because I don't know, I would have made me a bit skeptical that maybe it did not cause you the pain and trauma that you were saying that it caused you. So,
yeah, there's something interesting about this where maybe both things can be true. I read in some of the reporting that he has admitted that the photo of him on the album cover has led to some openings of doors for him. Maybe that can be true, and that he feels some pain about it now. Kristen, I wanted to ask you, this sort of made me wonder about artistic liberties, what's okay in art.
Okay, I love this whole story, actually, and I was thinking about it in terms of art as well, because the irony of this is just huge. The album cover is the baby chasing a dollar, right? We have the dollar on the fish hook and the baby in the background.
I see a metaphor coming.
Absolutely. I was an English teacher, Paige. Stay with me here, right? And so now we have the baby, 30 years old, suing for over $2 million. I don't want to speculate whether or not he was really harmed or if this is a money grab. I did also notice over the years, he has done a lot of press and recreated that photo as an adult.
Right.
Of course, he was clothed when he did that, and he was, able to give consent, of course, to participate in those photo shoots.
But photos at that same pool.
Yes. I'm like, no one really would have to know that baby was you unless you kind of every 5 years you do an interview and a photo shoot reminding people that you were, in fact, the Nirvana baby.
Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping this story on our radar. Well, I was on the Seattle Reddit page today, and this conversation really grabbed me. A person asks, I've had a recent breakup. I want to meet new people here in Seattle. Where do I go? What bar or local spot do people actually talk to each other in? How do I get beyond the Seattle freeze? This whole thread really hit home for so many reasons. So now I'm going to ask you, where's a spot in town that you can go in and chat it up with a stranger?
You know what, Paige? I am like an old married lesbian. I have a kid and a dog and a book club. Like, I am good. I am not trying to go out and do some chatting. Perhaps I'm a fan of the Seattle freeze. But, I think that my favorite thing about that entire Reddit thread was like the community service. Somebody chimed in and was like, I don't even live in Seattle, but it seems like you all need some help. Why don't you meet at the 5 Point on Friday from this time to that time? And I'm like, this is great.
All we needed was someone from another town to tell us how to meet people.
Totally. They were like even setting up the place and the time and everything. So I was like, this is great. We're all coming together. Praise Reddit for just bringing out the introverts and the extroverts together.
Yeah. Marcus, how about you?
I will say, honestly, I think it's the city bus page. Like, I have met everybody from somebody claiming to be Jesus to the reincarnation of Joan of Arc. It's a cornucopia of humanity. And so, for $275, you can ride that thing, for 4 hours until you got to transfer over again. And so I would say it's a smorgasbord on wheels.
Man, I miss taking the bus because it's just not part of my commute anymore, that I am working from home. And that's so true. I felt like I was like in with my neighborhood because we were all doing this thing together every morning, saw the same people, saw this guy with his kid load every time. I do miss that. I
challenge you, go get on the number 7 bus down at the Chinatown International District. Ride it all the way to Rainier Avenue. You will see things you wish you've never seen and things you wish you did.
Getting to know your city.
Yeah.
Marcus, I know that on a previous episode, you talked about going on a date during the pandemic. I'm going to ask you about it again. What has dating been like for you in Seattle?
Dating, it continues to be sort of strange. In terms of like, I've noticed that people don't seem to get dressed up at all anymore. I mean, I think that the COVID fashion, granted, Seattle was never a Paris when it came to style or anything. But
Marcus, take us through your first date outfit.
Yes, please.
I think I have come around to the fact that like the date isn't going to show up and put any type of, effort into it. So I literally just came in some sweats. And
Marcus!
Did you?
They were, yes, sweats and a hoodie. They were, I washed them though. And I did, deodorize.
Clean sweats.
So,
okay.
That was a thing.
You can have some style with that.
You can't. I think it was matching.
Athleisure is very in right now.
I pulled it off.
It sounds like you did. I'll bring up Brianna Stewart again. She was wearing basically sweats under a skirt and blazer. So I think you can do it. You can do anything now. Anything's fashion.
Yes. Like in 20 years from now, people will look at this fashion and they will think that we are, the connoisseurs of our day.
Yeah. Well, we can leave it there for today. Thank you so much to our guest, South Seattle Emerald founder and publisher Marcus Green, and KUOW community engagement producer Kristen Leong. Thanks, you two.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks, Paige.
Have a great weekend. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about us. Very easy to share an episode. You can do it right from your phone. Clare McGrane produced today's show. Our production team is Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Jenny Cecil Moore, Diana Opong, Matt Martin, and Jason Pagano. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Paige Browning. Have a great weekend.